Welcome to the Kate Dalley Show. I'm so glad you're joining me because I wanted to talk to you about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and really about the movement she was part of and how it turned into what it turned into. A lot of people and a lot of media are praising her and lauding her with the praise of, man, she's right up there with like Mother Teresa. Anyway, so what was the truth about her career? What did she actually do? Because when people say these things, they don't actually back it up. They don't say why they think this, but whoa, where would women be without Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Well, I'd like to kind of go back into her career. And in the words of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she said, Supreme Court Justice and co-founder of the Women's Rights Project at the ACLU said, women's rights are an essential part of the overall human rights agenda, trained on the equal dignity and ability to live in freedom all people should enjoy. Well, before Ruth wanted to, and her bra-burning friends from the 50s and 60s wanted to save all of us women who were in shackles and slave camps, apparently. Before this all happened, we were actually doing okay. We were raising families is what we were doing. Really, what we should be doing is raising families and being partners with our spouses and being with our children. And there was nothing wrong with being with our children. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg wanted a career, and she wanted to make sure that for some reason that she was noted as the person that saved all women from this. We already had freedom and justice. We had freedom and justice. In fact, I stand on the shoulders of the founders who gave that to us and basically outlined that in the Constitution of the United States that we had equality before the law. It's the only kind of equal that you can actually have the legislature or the government weigh in on, because everything else is just legislating behavior, which you can't do. And so, looking back in history, the reason that I'm a woman sitting here today with a talk show is because of our Judeo-Christian values and the founders who put it in writing what the government wasn't supposed to get involved in for the purpose of limited government. That's why I'm standing here today, not on the shoulders of Ruthie. So Ruthie decided to be a lawyer, and she basically, there weren't a lot of women going to school before 1956 in this regard for law school. And she was one of the few. Well, yeah, because they were raising families. Ruth got married and had a baby, but all of her friends that got together decided that everyone should have what Ruth has. What I find very, very strange about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is, yes, she got on at Rutgers as faculty. Yes, she got on onto Columbia and got tenured, and demanded the same equal pay that her counterparts didn't even get that had been there forever. She wanted equal pay right when she walked in the door. And of course, she got that. And she got Supreme Court, right? She got the Supreme Court. Where was all the oppression that she was fighting for us, the women? It's kind of like the NBA or the NFL wearing Black Lives Matters on the back of their jerseys. Everyone's oppressed but them. Everyone was oppressed but Ruth and her friends. So she decided to start a project. She decided to carve a niche for herself in this journey of hers, even though she wasn't taken from any of the things that she wanted to do. Oh, no, she got everything she wanted, actually. It just wasn't fast enough. When she graduated law school, actually, she was demanding that people take notice of her only and hire her only because she had graduated high in her class. Well, maybe at the time, thinking that she had a family that might interfere, right? Because it might have. And also, maybe they just didn't like her personality. Who knows? But she blamed it on, of course, being a woman. Don't you love how that happens? It's just always because of the very thing that they are fighting for. So basically, as she went on in her career, she went to law school. She demanded, that she was at a disadvantage, even though they took her on as faculty, so I'm not quite sure how she was disadvantaged. But again, they didn't meet her in equal pay, so she fought for the equal pay, even though she hadn't paid her dues. I would have rather seen her pay her dues before that would have happened. It would have made a little bit more sense. She founded the project, Women's Rights Project, with the ACLU, and this was born under, they said, 1972 Ginsburg's leadership. And they said they were removing the barriers and opening up the opportunities. They actually took advantage of those opportunities because lawyers at the time weren't real heavily equipped in fighting any of these kinds of things. And so they took advantage of that and then praised themselves for being a women's rights advocates. So then she pursued with her career in this project, and she explained that the ERA should come about. And she said it would serve as a clear statement of the nation's moral and legal commitment to a system in which women and men stand as full and equal individuals before the law. That already happened in the Constitution. That already happened. What she was talking about was a legal commitment, which is basically a weighted statement that means nothing, because really and truly all she's propping up this thing she's going to do by giving it some weight by saying she wants to strengthen the legal commitment of something already written and done. Okay. So she was a huge supporter of that. And then, of course, there were only a couple of cases, a handful of cases. One was about Sharon Frontero's husband, Joseph, who wasn't able to get spousal benefits and stay home with his kids and work off of tax dollars, right? Tax dollars be given to him. And she fought for that. Okay. And then she fought for the individuals in Idaho that were given, the men were given preference at the time because men handled financial affairs. Let's face it, more so than women did at the time. And so she fought to get women equal preference. They weren't excluded. It was just equal preference. Wow. I'm sure so many women have been so caught up in that. She saved us from the shackles of that, I suppose. And then it went on to pregnant women. She wanted to make sure pregnant women weren't fired, even when the conditions were horrible for the fetus. Yep. So they went ahead and made that decision. She actually failed at most of the stuff she tried to get through, by the way. But they kept saying that she was brave and that she was competent and that she was gritty and that she was going for it. And she was helping women everywhere. Did she? Not really. Actually, when you look at her career, I'm as surprised as you are, because I remember all this time saying Ruth Bader Ginsburg, always associated with the women's movement, always associated with Gloria Steinem, who was bought and paid for by the CIA, to basically throw flames into this to try to get women on board with the sentiment that they weren't fulfilled enough and weren't getting enough and should want more and enter the workforce, basically. What did going into the workforce mean? All it meant was that they wanted to disintegrate families and have double workforce for the taxation results, for the money. You have double the workers, double the money coming in, the tax money out of every household. They weren't getting enough. And so basically the women's rights and feminist whole mantra was born out of that sentiment of those two items, to disintegrate family and increase the tax base. And so when people are lauded with praise, I'm always curious as to why. And I think we don't ask enough questions. Just because it's been marketed in history as often as it has been with Ruth, she was actually for late-term abortion, the dismembering of a baby very much alive and kicking in the womb. She was also in favor of not using our Constitution, but preferring other countries' constitutions, and really loved international law. There was only a few decisions for the Fourth Amendment that actually even made sense, but even a clock's right twice. You know, we are in a situation right now where we're taking in all this media. There's lots of videos about Ruth and praising her to be sort of the Mother Teresa of and also the advocate for women. The problem is that, was she? When you really look at the cases, what did she actually do for women? Well, she couldn't have done much because we already had equality before the law. So what in the world did she fight for? That pretty much, the cases I just gave you were pretty much the cases, besides for the gender pay gap, in which she insisted that she be paid even without paying her dues, just because she had ovaries, basically, was her reasoning. And then, of course, she was on the side of she was against religious exemptions for the birth control. Remember the Catholic Church and the birth control and the Affordable Care Act and Hobby Lobby? She was actually on the side of saying you couldn't have a religious exemption for that. So there's lots of decisions like this. She had a very, very long career. And she stood on this project that she had with the ACLU, and the ACLU basically even admitted, oh yeah, we basically took advantage of the lawyers not being able to lawyer up very well in the fight for what they were fighting for. There really wasn't a lot there. The other thing they fought for was men and women in military. We want them to both be recognized. So now we say thank you to all the men and women in the military. Okay, that was huge. Anyway, that's about the extent of it. And when I look at her career, I just want people to understand what she truly did or didn't do. Because I think it's unfair to say that that she gets to have all of this praise said about her now that she's passed away without really anyone ever backing that up. She was a liberal progressive. She was chosen for her given socialist agenda on the court politically and then applauded for having ovaries is basically what happened. And she was smart. And gritty, apparently, but she did not adhere to the Constitution in many, many instances, and even remarked that our Constitution wasn't that great. She was a decent deliberator, but she marketed herself brilliantly, and that's what people need to know. This was all about marketing. If the media keeps saying it enough, then of course they're right? That's what happens. Then they're right. Women were not mistreated and abused in every corner of America, okay? There are many countries in which they actually are. And then I would say a woman is a hero that goes up against that because they're probably given the death sentence to do it. At a time when women were mostly at home, okay with that role and wanting to be at home, she decided that they needed to go a different direction and then made it into this whole career of working as a feminist that gave you wings. Well, did she really do that for you? Because looking back, the two things that have happened is the disintegration of the family has given us what we have today after 40 years of this. And by the way, there really wasn't a lot to do. At the time, people were more impressed with the fight of what she was going after in regards to race and in regards to class, like being poor, not so much women. Why? Because they already knew that women had equality before the law. That's why. We're talking about cultural changes. That's why. Anyway, I wanted you guys to know the very basics of her career because basically in a nutshell, what I just gave you was put out by the ACLU as they applauded her and said, basically she was Mother Teresa. Just a little truth on the truth front. For Ruth Bader Ginsburg, anyone for late-term abortion, I don't have any words for you. Straight up murder and being condoned. It's not okay. Everybody have a good one. Make sure you put in comments below. Subscribe. Go to the Kate Daly Show. I'd love to hear from you and love to hear your comments on this because I don't hear too many people talking about her actual career in as a lawyer and as a Supreme Court justice either. Everybody have a good one. Bye.